hope. It used to feel like light, like maybe, just maybe things would change, but now it feels like a lie that smiled while stabbing from behind. I've waited, I've believed, I've begged life to turn the page, but not anymore. I'm not risking it, not again. This time hope's getting ghosted because I've been burned too many times holding on to something that only held me back. I'm done waiting for signs. I am the sign now. This is the story of when belief breaks you and what happens when you decide to rebuild with fire. So if you've ever felt like you gave everything to something that gave nothing back, this one's for you. Hope wears a golden mask shining like salvation, but underneath that glow, it can be a silent enemy dressed as comfort. It tells you to stay still, to be patient, to wait for better days, like a child sitting by the window, waiting for someone who's never coming back. It feeds you soft lies with sugar on their tongues. Maybe next time. Just one more chance. Things will get better. Until you're trapped in a loop that feels like love but tastes like poison. You wake up every day thinking maybe today is the day it all shifts. And while you wait, life doesn't. Time doesn't. Growth doesn't. The days stack up like unpaid bills and you start drowning in your own stillness, mistaking it for strength. But let me tell you, staying silent in suffering is not strength. It's self-abandonment in slow motion. You tell yourself holding on makes you brave, but what if letting go makes you free? The truth is, hope can keep you warm, but it can also burn you alive if it's built on empty promises and dead weight. You're not here to watch your life pass through a window pane of what-ifs. You're here to break the glass. You're here to wake up one morning and decide you're done with waiting, done with the lies, done with being loyal to pain. Hope has betrayed you more times than you can count. It's ghosted you when you needed it most. So why are you still calling it a friend? Why are you still building a future on a foundation that keeps cracking? You need to stop dressing your delays as destiny. Life doesn't hand out miracles to the ones who sit still. It gives power to the ones who move, even when the path is unclear. So ghost hope before it ghosts you again. Choose hunger over hesitation. Choose motion over maybes. Tear the golden mask off hope and see it for what it really is when it no longer serves you. A distraction. The version of you that breaks out of this cycle is waiting, but it's not somewhere far off. It's already inside you, screaming to be released. The world has fooled you into thinking hope is a light, but sometimes it's the very thing keeping you from building your own fire. You've been taught to treat hope like it's sacred, like it's some holy thing you must never lose, no matter how many times it guts you in the dark. But let me rip that illusion right now. You don't owe hope anything. Not a second chance, not your time, not your loyalty, not after it's dragged you through the mud of empty promises and hollow futures one too many times. People will tell you don't lose hope, but they don't see the nights you've stayed up bargaining with your own mind, praying, not to any god, but to the silence, to just make things different, better, easier. Yet nothing changed, and still you clung to the idea that maybe if you just hold on a little longer, things will turn around. But tell me this, how many times does hope get to break your ribs before you stop giving it your trust? How many times will you bleed out on the floor waiting for a rescue that never shows up? There is no rule that says you have to keep giving chances to something that's failed you over and over again. You've already waited long enough. You've already tried every version of believing, and now it's time to stop giving your energy to something that's only ever taken from you. This is your permission to slam the door on hope's face and lock it, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. You're not bitter. You're awake. You're no longer the version of you who needed a reason to move. You are the reason. Let the world call it giving up if they want. Let them whisper. Let them say you've changed. Damn right you've changed. You're not the hopeful one anymore, waiting on a miracle. You're the miracle now. You're the aftermath of every storm you survived. You're the quiet explosion that walks away without explanation. People don't understand that real strength isn't in holding on. It's in letting go before it kills you. And that's what you've done. You've ghosted hope, not because you're weak, but because you've learned. You've evolved. You've outgrown the fantasy that something outside of you will save you. What you need is already in your hands, in your spine, in your scars. And if that makes you cold, so be it. If that makes you hard, let it. You were soft long enough. You were patient long enough. You kept the door open long enough for something that never had the intention of walking through. This is your rebirth, not your breakdown. And from this moment forward, the only thing you owe is to yourself. To rise, to rebuild, to move, without waiting for a sign that may never come. Hope had its shot. It blew it. And you're not turning back. You're not leaving the light on anymore. Let the past find its own way. You've got somewhere else to be. They'll say you've given up. They'll say you've changed. Like that's a sin. Like growth should be soft and pretty and easy to understand. But they don't know what it's like to carry hope in your chest like a ticking bomb, each second promising something will come, something will change. And every silence after that promise hits you like a blade. They don't see the quiet chaos hope causes when it convinces you to wait, to stay, to keep forgiving, to keep standing still while your dreams rot at your feet. Ghosting hope isn't weakness, it's evolution. It's the shedding of skin that no longer fits. The severing of ties with a fantasy that tried to suffocate you. It's realizing that hope, when it becomes habit, becomes a drug. One that numbs you just enough to stop you from doing what actually matters. Moving. There's nothing noble about holding on to a delusion. There's nothing brave about dying slowly just because it's wrapped in the soft language of maybe someday. The strongest thing you'll ever do is walk away from a version of life that was killing you quietly. And when you ghost hope, you become something else entirely. You become dangerous. Not in a way that harms, but in a way that disrupts. Because nothing terrifies people more than someone who no longer waits. You stop asking for chances. You stop explaining yourself. You stop hoping the storm will pass, and instead you become the storm. The Joker didn't wait for things to get better. He snapped the moment he saw the system was never built to save him. He didn't want pity. He didn't want a second chance. He became his own reckoning, and so do you. Because when you ghost hope, you're not abandoning dreams. You're upgrading them. You're stepping out of the waiting room and into the war room. You no longer need to be understood. You don't care if they call you heartless. You've just learned to protect your pulse. You've learned to walk away before something poisons your purpose. This isn't you giving up, this is you giving birth to a new self. One who doesn't need comfort, just clarity. One who doesn't need hope, just hunger. One who doesn't need to be told it's time because they already decided it is. You don't wait for signs anymore. You become the damn sign. You don't follow the path. You break it. You don't ask the world to choose you. You build a world where you don't need to be chosen. That's not weakness. That's evolution. That's transformation by fire. And you're walking out of the flames with your own light now. There comes a moment when hope becomes too quiet, too soft, too passive for the war that lives inside your chest. And that's when you stop waiting and start wanting, not gently, not politely, but with teeth bared and fists clenched. You replace hope with hunger, and suddenly the world feels different. You no longer sit in silence praying for change. You growl them, bleed for them, claw for them. Hunger isn't weak. Hunger is wild. It's raw. It's the fire that roars inside your ribs saying, if they won't give it to me, I'll take it. Hope was the lullaby you played to survive the nights that tried to break you. But hunger is the war drum that wakes the beast. It doesn't ask, it demands. It doesn't wait, it moves. You see, hope wants you to believe that someday the stars will align. Hunger teaches you to burn your own path into the sky and make the stars follow you. Hope is the prayer, hunger is the plan. And when you switch from one to the other, your entire energy changes. You stop shrinking, you stop apologizing, you stop begging the universe for a handout, and become the force that bends the world around you. That's what they fear most. Someone who's no longer hopeful but hungry. Someone who doesn't cry for chances anymore but creates consequences. This kind of transformation is violent in the best way. It rips the waiting out of your soul and replaces it with fire. You'll feel it in your bones, in your breath, in the way you stop looking for signs and start becoming one. The Joker didn't walk around hoping for the world to understand him. He took his pain, turned it inside out, and let it devour the silence. You do the same when you trade hope for hunger. You stop trying to be saved and start becoming a threat, not to others, but to the version of yourself that kept sitting, watching, waiting. That version of you, gone, ashes. Hunger doesn't let you rest, not because it's cruel, but because it remembers what still needs to be built, taken, conquered. It reminds you that nothing is coming unless you go after it, bite down on it, and refuse to let go until your vision is real and your purpose is louder than your past. So let the world romanticize hope all it wants. You're done with fairy tales. You want results. You want impact. You want revenge. Not on people, but on every second you ever spent, believing things would fix themselves. You've replaced your hope with hunger now, and hunger never sleeps. Hunger never doubts. Hunger doesn't knock. It breaks the door and walks in. That's who you are now. There comes a point when you vanish, not out of weakness, but out of will. You stop explaining. You stop reaching. You stop sending signals into the void hoping someone will answer. You disappear because staying visible only invited vultures to circle your healing. You disappear because you finally understand that silence is your sharpest weapon. You become the ghost, not because you're broken, but because you've risen. Not because you're hiding, but because you've become unreachable. You become the presence that never says a word but is felt in every room, the one they remember not for what you said, but for how loud your absence became. You don't haunt them with threats. You haunt them with growth, with distance, with elevation. You haunt them with your success, with your silence, with how they no longer have access to the fire they once took for granted. You haunt them with your success, with your silence, with how they no longer have access to the fire they once took for granted. Ghosting is no longer an escape. It's a statement, a declaration that you are no longer begging for crumbs at tables that never fed you. You've outgrown the need to be seen. You've outgrown the need to be understood. You're done playing the fool in someone else's stage show. You're writing your own scenes now, and guess what? You don't need an audience. You don't need applause. You don't need closure. You need movement, power, peace. And that peace comes from stepping into your own damn myth and becoming the legend they never saw coming. The Joker didn't warn anyone. He just vanished into chaos and came back reborn. He became the one people whispered about, feared, remembered, not for his noise, but for the shift he caused. That's you now. The storm in silence, the consequence in absence, the lesson they never studied but now can't forget. Your detachment is your liberation. And what once looked like loneliness now feels like sovereignty. Because when you disappear on purpose, when you cut off the access, when you take your light back and place it where it belongs, within yourself, you no longer walk through the world asking for recognition. You become the recognition. With the way your evolution, with the way your energy no longer bends, with the way you stop breaking your back just to make someone else comfortable. That ghost they feel in their chest when they scroll and realize you've moved on without them, that's not revenge. That's rebirth. That's you finally choosing yourself in a world that expected you to stay broken. You don't haunt them to hurt them. You haunt them because they had you and lost you. And now they know they'll never hold that version of you again. That version is gone, gone like smoke, gone like a shadow in the alleyway of their memory. You're a ghost now, but not the kind they can escape from, the kind they'll remember every time they wonder why everything feels colder without your fire. So here it is. Hope didn't save you, you saved yourself. You stopped waiting for a light at the end of a tunnel that was just a shadow all along. You chose to ghost the ghost that kept dragging you down. Now, you're not just surviving, you're owning your story, burning the past and walking into a future you build with your own hands. Remember, strength isn't in waiting, it's in moving. It's in breaking the chains no one even saw. If this hit you deep, then don't just watch, act. Like, comment, and subscribe to Twist Mind. Because here we don't just talk about change, we become it. And trust me, the world won't know what hit it. Please like, comment, and subscribe to Twist Mind. Because we don't wait here, we rise.